So I finally decided to do a book update. It's been quite a while since I last filmed a book-related video, and a lot of stuff has happened since then, book-wise, and yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys. I'm pretty low energy today. This is my third cup of coffee. We had some friends over last night, and it was really nice, but that was probably the latest that I've stayed up in quite a while, so I'm pretty groggy today. Also, all week it's been so rainy and so humid, so I have a mop on top of my head because there's just so much moisture in the air that it can't be helped. Yeah, so I've been reading quite a lot lately, and I really wanted to do this video because I actually decided to start a book journal. So this is my book journal. It's by Peter Popper Press. This is actually my second journal by this company. I love the quality. It has silver sprayed edges, and this is like Van Gogh's painting. I think it's the almond tree. And yeah, I don't know, it's gorgeous. I have another journal, but it's my personal journal that's made by this company. And yeah, so basically I've been watching a bunch of BookTube. I used to actually not watch BookTube, which is funny because that's kind of like the type of videos that I'm starting to make more. But yeah, I noticed that a lot of people annotate the books that they're reading, and I realized that that would be like a really good thing for me to do because I really only read library books. So, you know, I don't keep the physical copies of the books that I'm reading, and since I read so many different series, it can, you know, be a while before I reach the next book in a series, and I'll forget all the shit that I read previously. And so I realized that I probably needed to start taking notes so that later, whenever I pick up the next book, I can go back and reread everything that I had wrote about it so I can kind of refresh my memory. Now, if you're someone that's looking for like super aesthetically pleasing, beautiful bullet journal style journaling, that ain't me. I mean, I'm like a creative person, but like I don't want my book journal to be like a creative project. I guess there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I actually love watching people do like journaling videos because it's really calming and cute. But anyway, yeah, so this journal just has a very practical use, and so it's not necessarily the prettiest on the inside. I don't know if it'll pick up well on camera. I don't know if it's going to be flipped whenever I show you. But anyway, so here's the opening page, and I left this page blank because I'm thinking about doing an illustration right here. But yeah, the next page, which is already pretty full, is my possible TBRs. Yes, that is a fuck ton of books. Okay, so let me explain. Like I said, I watch a lot of BookTube, so I'm constantly watching recommendation videos. I just want to say that lately I've been watching a ton of the Book Refuge's channel, and I forgot her channel name, but Crystal's book channel too. And yeah, also, as I've mentioned like 100 times in the past, I work for a library, so anytime that I see a book that I'm processing that I want to read, I always write it down. And this is really convenient because now I have them all in one place, so, you know, once I finish a series, I can go through and, you know, pick from the list. Before at work, I would just have like a shit ton of notes everywhere about books that I wanted to read. I mean, you're not going to be able to see because I'm like holding this far back, but there's actually a ton of spicy books in here. Yeah, so I've come to realize that I really like reading romance in books, so I think that I'm going to experiment and read some, you know, romance books like historical romance, paranormal romance, and when I mean romance, I'm actually talking about erotica. I don't know why I'm being like bashful about it, but yeah, I don't know. I just want to like explore that avenue. So a lot of the books on here are, you know, romances that have that element in it. They're basically all like adult romance, and they all have like a fantasy or paranormal aspect to them. Well, not all of them. Like I said, there's quite a few historical romance. I also have self-help books, which I don't think I'll actually share on this channel. Regular fantasy. Another book genre that I'm exploring right now is YA fiction, which so far I'm a little disappointed, but I'll explain that in a little minute. I'll explain that in a minute. I have some manga, some graphic novels, and yeah, I don't know. This will just be helpful, and that's also why I put possible TBRs, because you know, I don't know. So anyway, yeah, I left several pages blank, and then this right here is where I logged the first book that I had finished once I acquired the journal. But yeah, so that brings me to actually talking about the books. I'm going to go ahead and actually start with the book that where is it? I'm actually going to start with the book that I finished this morning. And this book series has completely changed like the types of books that I had been reading. I didn't phrase that right. Anyway, I'm so excited to share this series with you guys. It is the Parasol Protectorate Series. I just want to say that I finished this morning and I was devastated. This is the second book in the series. This is Changeless. The first book is called Soulless. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil the second book for you, but basically the ending of this book left me in shambles. I actually cried. I'm devastated. I can't believe that I have to wait until my hold comes in to like read the third book. I can't believe it ended that way. But yeah, anyways, this is now my all-time favorite book series that I'm currently reading anyway. That'll obviously change. But yeah, I picked this up because I was, you know, originally wanting to read more paranormal romance, and this is definitely like paranormal romance, but not like the spiciest paranormal romance that you could read. There's lots of like saucy, sensual times, but it's not very graphic. It's not like erotica or anything. It's definitely more focused on the story itself, the plot, you know, the mystery aspect of the series. Basically, Soulless is a paranormal historical romance. It takes place during the Victorian era in Victorian London, but it is also a like a paranormal steampunk tale. There's tons of like really cool steampunk aspects in this universe. I had never read any type of steampunk book before ever. I never really thought that that would be a genre that I would be into, but then this series has completely blown me out of the water. And y'all, I actually purchased the first book in this series, and I'm waiting for it to come in the mail because I actually think that I'm going to buy Gail Carriger's books because I will, you know, want to read them more in the future. I would want to reread them. But yeah, I'll give you the basic premise. Basically, it's Victorian London, but there are paranormals that exist, and they exist within like regular society. There's werewolves and vampires and ghosts, but the main character named Alexia Terabati, she is what is called a preternatural, which basically means that she is a soulless being. And because of this, you know, soulless aspect of herself, she has a paranormal ability to cancel out other supernatural creatures. Basically, that means that, like, if she were to walk up to a werewolf and physically touch them, while she is touching the werewolf, he is human. His supernaturalness is completely canceled out. But once she stops touching him, he's back to being a werewolf. And yeah, it's basically like a mystery series. Alexia Terabody basically turns into like a detective and solves these weird mysteries that are afflicting both the regular and supernatural world. I have never read a like paranormal supernatural series that has this type of explanation for why they exist. It's very scientific. Like there is a almost like biological reason as to why like paranormal peoples exist. I keep floating around both supernatural and paranormal. Like I keep switching those terms around. I don't actually know the difference between them two. Can anybody explain that to me? Anyway, God, the series is so good. It has the perfect blend of the romance aspect. It has lots of like really cool action. Also, the number one thing about this book is that it's a comedy. It's hilarious, but it's not like hilarious as in it's making fun of like the characters or that it's like, I don't know, it's just funny. The characters have like hilarious banter and like the circumstances is just funny. In the first chapter of the first book, there's a fucking vampire with a lisp. Like, I don't know, it sounds ridiculous, but it's so good. Yeah, this is like, I feel like I haven't had this sort of connection with a book series since I was like a child. Like I love a lot of the books that I'm reading right now, but I actually get sucked into this universe, and like I just love these characters so much. I think that's why I was so devastated when I read the ending of this book, and I can't believe it has such an intense cliffhanger that it does, because it drove me crazy. But yeah, the author Gail Carriger, she actually has a YouTube channel, and I'll link it below in the description. But yeah, I love watching her like older live streams because she talks about like her writing process, and it's just really interesting to hear from like the author's side about everything. And she's just like a really interesting person to me. But yeah, I don't know, I'm a complete fangirl now, and I can't wait to read all of the books. She also has multiple book series that basically takes place in the same universe, so I'm really excited. There's lots of like character crossovers and whatnot. But yeah. And then I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. Since I just finished that book, I'm actually planning on reading Soulless, book number 2, the manga. Yes, there is a manga adaptation of this book series. Okay, y'all, look at how beautiful this is. And yeah, the first manga is also just called Soulless. And I can say, since I haven't read this yet, I don't know for sure, but I'm going to assume so. The first book is, the first manga is really true to the book, and it's so interesting to see it illustrated. I do have to say, I love how the artist has chosen, I think they're called, it's Rem, R-E-M. I like how she has chosen to depict Alexia, because even though the model is really beautiful on the book covers, I just don't think she's a good representation of the character, in my opinion, because Alexia is described as being like a bigger woman, like really curvy. And I think this artist like depicts that really well. I mean, she's wearing a corset, so she looks thinner, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I don't know. The manga series is so beautifully drawn, and it's just so interesting to see the book, like reading the book first and then reading the manga, because it's pretty true to form. They obviously have to cut out some bits in it to like fit this amount of pages, but yeah. Excuse me. I do have to say that the way Rem draws Professor Lyle is not how I imagine him at all. For some reason, I imagine Professor Lyle with a mustache. I don't know if that's weird, but I do. This is definitely a big update. The first actual book video that I had on this channel was about supernatural cozy fiction that I was reading, and I am still reading them. And in fact, the first book entry that I actually put in my book journal was about the Witchcraft mystery series. Yes, I'm still reading this series. This is actually the 4th book. The copy that I had mentioned in the journal is actually the 3rd book because I just finished reading it, so I haven't read this one yet. This one is In a Witch's Wardrobe, and the 3rd book that I just finished was called Hexes and Hemlines. I can't remember what the 2nd book was called. But yeah, I'm getting pretty far in this series. I still really love it. The 3rd book was good. We started seeing more interactions with her and the character Aiden. I'm really interested in seeing more of that because Aiden is such an intriguing character to me. The problem that I run in with the series is that I go so long without reading it in between because I have so many other books that I'm going through. That's why I'm glad I'm doing the book journal, because I couldn't even remember what had happened in the 2nd book. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say about this. It's just really good. If you need like a quick recap of basically like the, you know, like the basic premise of what the series is, I would probably go back and watch my, you know, other video, or maybe just look up a description online. But yeah, I don't know. And I am also still reading more cozy fiction. I did end up DNFing the, what was it, Caught Red-Handed? I don't even remember what that book series was called. Y'all, the 2nd book, I did not like it. I got like more than halfway through and I just couldn't anymore. I knew something was off whenever I had read the 1st book, and I figured that that's what was going to happen, is that I was going to start the 2nd book in the series and then realize I wanted to quit reading it. There was just, it was like, it was so convoluted with like so many different characters, and it was hard for me to like retain information about what was going on, and it didn't help me like get into the mystery aspect of it. I don't know. But anyways, the other 2 series that I'm reading is, I'm still reading A Magical Bakery Mystery. This is the 3rd book. Yeah, the 3rd book. I haven't started it yet. And then I had started An Enchanted Garden Mystery, and this is the 2nd book in the series. It is super cute, which, by the way, Bailey Cates is also Bailey Catterall. It's the same author. I don't know why she has a different pen name for the series. The series is really cute. It's basically this woman has a garden slash perfume shop. Like, she grows her own flower gardens and she makes perfumes and tinctures for her shop. And there's a murder in the 1st book that she has to solve because it happened on her property and it seems like she's being framed for it. 1st book was called Daisies for Innocence. The only con that I had about this book is that there isn't an apparent supernatural aspect. It's very much like an undercurrent, I guess. Like, I wish there was more supernatural stuff happening. It's like implying that it has something to do with like the Fae, but it's not like that apparent enough for me. But I still really like the series. I'm gonna keep reading it because it's like really cute. But yeah. So earlier I had mentioned that I was venturing into reading young adult fiction. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to give YA a shot. Believe it or not, I didn't actually read a whole lot whenever I was like in middle school and high school. Towards the end of high school, I think I started reading more, but yeah, it wasn't until I started working for the library that I got into reading. So there's a lot of like older YA series that I would like to read for the first time. And I, picked one up and I started it. and I finished it, and it was the Hush Hush series. Here is the second book. This is Crescendo. It's by Becca Fitzpatrick. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, obviously I'm gonna read the second book because I have it right here, but like, I had some issues with it. So here, let me get my journal out. I'm starting to give star ratings, and I gave this book, okay, at the time I gave it 2 stars, but I'm actually going to bump that up. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. So, yes, Hush Hush is basically about a teenage girl and a fallen angel, but she doesn't know that he's a fallen angel. Anyways, yeah, it's a supernatural romance that involves like angels and this high school girl. I feel like I'm explaining these books really bad. This is an older series, so I'm sure tons of people know about it, so I guess I don't really need to give like a huge description about what it is, but there's some elements in this book that I find very problematic. The interactions between the heroine, what was her name? Her name's Nora, and the hero, like the love interest, Patch. It seemed really like toxic to me. I don't know, there's like issues with like possible stalker behavior and the way that he talks to her. It just seemed really like he was coercing her. And the Nora herself, her convictions were just so wishy-washy. Like 1 second she would be like, oh, this guy's a creep, I hate him, he sucks so bad. And then literally like the next sentence she's like, but I'm so drawn to him and he's so mysterious and hot and I just want to get to know him better. And like, okay. I feel like I'm like shitting on people that like this series, and I'm definitely not. I can 100% say that I can see the appeal of this book, which like obviously because I'm like continuing to read the second book in the series, but it's also a series that like whenever I was 14, 15, I would have probably ate this shit up. I would have loved it. But now as an adult, like my stupid adult brain can't like get into the fantasy and like see past toxic behaviors in the book. There's also a scene in the book where there's a character who's drunk and he gets physically violent with Nora, and her, her friend calls and they're on the phone, and Nora's trying to explain what happened, and her friend's like defending him, saying that, oh, he's just drunk, he's gonna regret it in the morning or later or whatever. And I can say that Nora definitely sees that as a red flag, so I like applaud her, but yeah, I don't know. And then I guess like, I don't know if it's just because I have a stupid adult brain and I can't get into that mindset that I would have been whenever I was like a young teenager. But yeah, the reason why I'm continuing to read this series is because, what chapter was it? Up until, all the way until chapter 28. Chapter 28, that is towards the end of the book. That is whenever I started getting excited for the book. It took 28 chapters for me to get excited about, and that's because that's whenever the action in the story happens, like the climax or whatever, and it turns into like this interesting mystery and these really cool plot points that are finally being like explained better. And I was like, whenever I was reading that chapter, I was like, man, this is what I wanted like this whole time. And I was so pumped and excited and like happy that I was reading it. But it took so long. And I was like, okay, I feel like the author, maybe she had to do that because it's, she's doing world building and character building. She's introducing us to the characters, but I don't know. It was like I was more engaged in the book because I was like intrigued by like the chaotic interactions between Patch and Nora. I don't know. Anyway, here, I'm just gonna read the final thoughts that I put in here. I have conflicted feelings. I did start to like the book more towards the end, but it took forever for that to happen. The ending was okay, I guess, when he turns... Oh, wait, no, I'm not going to read that. Yeah, the ending was okay. I know that this book is for a younger audience, but it's hard for me to see past the cheesiness and problematicness of the relationship dynamics between the characters. The way the book ended made it seem like there wouldn't be any reason to have more books in the series. Yeah, like who I would assume would be like the main bad guy, like is, you know, defeated. Yeah, and I even wrote, like, I don't know, maybe I'll check out the next book in the series, which I am. Yeah, I'm gonna give it another shot. I'm gonna give the book a benefit of the doubt and just say that they kind of had to do this really, really slow plot build up in order to like get us introduced to like the characters and whatnot. Yeah, I was really interested in reading this book series because I actually really love like angel type stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to read a book about like a dark angel and it has like romance, or a fallen angel and it has like a romance aspect in it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna read this book and then keep y'all updated about how I'm feeling. Yeah, so actually, the original book the original young adult fiction that I was going to read that I'm still really excited for is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. So this is what originally led me to want to read young adult fiction, because I had finished reading the first book in the Parasol Protectorate series, and I was like, wow, I want to read more stuff that is like paranormal and takes place in Victorian era London. And this series does. I'm sure tons of people know about this series. This is a part of the, what is it? It's like the Shadowhunters world. I have never read any of these books. I've never read anything by Cassandra Clare, but a lot of people love this series. This is technically like a prequel to the Shadowhunter series. And yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited to read this because of the like paranormal Victorian England aspect. I guess it's about a main character named Tessa Gray. She goes to London to find like her brother, and she gets caught up by these like sisters who are in like a secret organization that are like pretty evil, and turns out that Tessa actually has these powers and they're gonna, you know, use her for evil. And there's a group of people called the Shadowhunters that rescue her, and then shit hits the fan. And yeah, I've seen different covers of this book, but this cover is really gorgeous. This is obviously like a copy that's from my library. But yeah, it's really gorgeous. I'm hoping that I'll enjoy it more than the Hush Hush series. Because it's young adult, but it's not like modern day young adult. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a contemporary young adult. I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm thinking if I like this universe, maybe I'll like this one, right? Yeah, that's basically it for the books that I have at least listed in the journal. Immediate reading plans are, obviously I'm gonna read Soulless Volume 2 manga because I just finished Changeless. I'm so scared to read this only because I already know how it ends and it's heartbreaking. It makes me want to die. But yeah, so after I read that, I'm actually going to read Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts. This is Volume 8. This is another series that I really, really just want to buy because the artwork's so beautiful, the story is so cute. I've talked about this series in my previous manga video, so I won't go into detail. But yeah, I need to read this. I need to read this weekend because there's actually a hold on it, so I need to return it so the next person can read it. But yeah, that's it, guys. Actually, wait. Okay, this is for sure going to be the last book that I'm going to read. This is like a TBR. After I finish those 2 manga, I am going to start A Deal with the Elf King. Yeah, you know how I mentioned about spicy books? This is a spicy book, apparently. Yeah, this is a fantasy romance, and I actually have not read any fantasy recently. That is another genre that I'm going to explore. And this is an adult fantasy romance, and there are aspects of erotica, I believe. I'm mostly excited to read this series because it is a retelling of the Greek myth of Persephone and Hades. I actually have a sternum tattoo that's like inspired by that myth. So yeah, it's a retelling, but instead of like Greek mythology, it is a universe where there are like fae folk and humans, and they're at conflict. I think I'm just going to read the blurb. 3,000 years ago, humans were hunted by powerful races with wild magic until the treaty was formed. Now for centuries, the elves have taken a young woman from Luella's village to be their human queen. To be chosen is seen as a mark of death by the townsfolk. A mark 19-year-old Luella is grateful to have escaped as a girl. Instead, she's dedicated her life to studying herbology and becoming the town's only healer. That is, until the Elf King unexpectedly arrives. For her, everything Luella had thought she'd known about her life and herself was a lie. Taken to a land filled with wild magic, Luella is forced to be the new queen to a cold yet blisteringly handsome Elf King. Once there, she learns about a dying world that only she can save. The magical land of Midscape pulls on one corner of her heart, her home and people tug on another. But what will truly break her is a passion she never wanted. So this is basically like, I guess it's like captor captive, which I'm really nervous about reading. Like, you know, like I mentioned, I read the Hush Hush series, and just the character dynamics between Patch and Nora kind of made me feel icky. And so this is a captor captive, so who knows how I'm gonna feel. But I love the Persephone and Hades myth so much that like I want to give this a chance. This cover is so beautiful. Yeah, and I just want to read a fantasy, and why not start with like a fae fantasy? Yeah, it looks like it's also inspired by like Beauty and the Beast. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna give this a try, and I'm really excited. It took me forever to get this. I guess this book is really popular right now, so tons of people were putting holds on it, and I think there was like 3 people in front of me, so I had to wait quite a while. And yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on how I read the spiciness. I'm kind of nervous, but also a little excited. But yeah, okay, I think I'm for sure done talking about books at this moment in time. For watching this video, it's nice being able to share your hobbies with other people, and I hope that you have a wonderful day or night, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I hope you're reading some good books. I hope you're staying cozy. And yeah, guys, bye-bye.